Hey, this is Subspace Transmissions. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Cam.
Cam, we just watched the Vulcan Hello and Battle at the Binary Stars. This is the first time I've been able to watch a premiere of Star Trek in about 12 years. Or no, that's the last time Star Trek was off the air. Man, it's been since 2002, 15 years since I've watched a series premiere.
This is the first time I've ever watched a Star Trek premiere as it happened.
So, Cam, why don't we just jump into it then?
Yeah.
First time you've watched something as it happened, would other Star Trek fans like this? Does this feel like Star Trek to you?
It feels like an evolution of Star Trek, I think. I think...
Okay, but people would say that about Encounter at Farpoint,
They would.
about Caretaker, etc., etc.
I think Star Trek fans are going to be a little polarized on the feel of this show. I don't think, and I think that's to the credit of Discovery, it doesn't play it safe. I think it's kind of trying to upset things a little bit, kind of revise what we think Star Trek is. And I think it's going to, reward those that stick along for the journey. At least I hope so.
Okay, well, let's get into specifics, though.
Yeah.
People, tune in the podcast. We're going to go in depth on this. But, Cam, what do you make of some of the character moments we have here? My perhaps favorite stuff is coming from that flashback scene when you see Battle at the Binary Stars. We see Burnham when she's more Vulcan than she is human. What do you make of these sorts of moments?
I would like more of them, but this is definitely a world-building type two-parter.
Okay.
It's not like, say, Encounter at Farpoint, where we're spending a lot of dead time with characters just talking about their relationships.
And baseball. That's, of course, a reference to Emissary.
Or Wesley, lovingly walking around the bridge, oh my. We're not getting those types of moments. So it's very short moments we see, between Michael Burnham and Saru, played by Doug Jones, talking about his species. It's we're getting moments like those.
Because those are the only two characters in the main credits. Otherwise, Michelle Yeoh, she's a special guest star.
Who knew?
So, I don't know. It's very bizarre to me. We're 2 episodes in, and we've only met, 1/3 of the cast at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never had that experience with Star Trek before,
No.
But this is Star Trek for modern audiences at this point. Cam, any other highlights from you from this premiere?
To me, the Klingons. And I know, guys, you're there's no way in hell he's got to be, trolling us right now. I really like the angle they're taking on the Klingons. It's something we've never seen before. And it's different and out there and definitely risky. I think there's going to be a lot of people who maybe, are in love with characters like Worf and might be a little bit oh, this is not the Klingons I know and love.
But, Cam, the Klingons, they've been introduced to us or reintroduced to us
many times.
Errand of Mercy, the motion picture, you mentioned on the podcast to a certain degree, The Search for Spock,
Yep.
Heart of Glory, Broken Bow. I think this is just another reintroduction of the Klingons where they're always reimagined just a little bit differently every time. And I'm kind of sucked into this. I had so many fears that they would not get the Klingons right, but wherever they want to go with them, I'm kind of down with it, and that surprises me genuinely. Do you think other Trek fans are going to have tougher times with where they want to go with the Klingons?
I don't want to generalize all Trek fans, but I think there's going to be some who aren't going to necessarily be happy.
Yeah.
They're using the Klingons very much, and this has always been the case with Klingons. They're being used for an allegory to do with modern day politics. And I think how you feel about their usage, and the usage of them here is going to be dependent, I think, on whether you can separate the love of just the characters who are Klingons from the shows and the allegory. If you can kind of look at the allegory and appreciate what it's doing for science fiction storytelling, I think you'd be really interested to see where this goes. If you're tuning in hoping for Worf Part 2, I think you may be a little bit kind of bristled by this.
Okay.
Do you agree?
I totally buy that. I'm fine with it, though. I'm down with Star Trek continuing to evolve. I think the Klingons are doing it in a way that I was originally feeling a little bit of trepidation.
Yeah.
Now I'm fully invested at this point. I think Vok, Son of None, that just seems like a character with so much potential. So I'm down for whatever his journey turns out to be.
Yeah, we see a lot of the different types of Klingons in this pilot, and the first 2 episodes, and they don't feel like the Klingons I've seen before. It feels more diverse. It's kind of like walking into the Star Wars cantina versus walking into that Star Wars cantina ripoff from Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
I thought you were going to reference The Force Awakens.
That too. But one is impressive and vivid and a world unto its own. And the other's kind of run down, a little dingy, and you're that guy in the back wearing a cardboard mask?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that sort of feel. Like this feels to me like a real new imaginative take on the Klingons, and it's exciting.
Cam, let's not bury the lead though, because we've got Michael.
I'd like
Burnham.
to continue to bury it, please.
We've got Michael Burnham, the new first officer, the lead character here.
Yeah.
She does the whole Vulcan nerve pinch on her commanding officer. She ends up sentenced to a lifetime in prison.
Yeah.
Is that the end of her character at this point? Never going to see her again. She's in prison for life.
You know, Tyler, this is such a cliched take on the, first officers. How many times have we seen this same thing? You know, I just remember Chakotay pulling the same routine on Janeway.
No, remember in Shore Leave where Kirk thought he was getting a massage from Spock, and it wasn't?
Spock was trying to do the nerve pinch, but he was a little...
so
he was disoriented.
A bit of a different take there.
Yeah. No, this is bold stuff.
Well, that's just it. We've never really seen... literally a first officer physically assault their commanding officer ever.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be very polarizing for Star Trek fans, where they're going to come out and say, you know what, maybe these writers just don't get Star Trek. We would never see that in any other Star Trek first officer. I can't, personally, I can't imagine Chakotay ever doing this to Janeway, or even Kira doing this to Ben. And you would see the Maquis versus, the Bajoran militia.
Yeah.
Very different kind of loyalties to Starfleet. So the fact that you have Starfleet on Starfleet crime, it's unlike Star Trek. I think it's going to be polarizing, and I still have some misgivings about it, but I think you're a little bit more on board.
I am, because it surprised me and it shocked me, and it was driven by a character moment, like a character decision. Look at Voyager. Look at the Maquis mixed with Starfleet and the conflict that arose from that.
We got to watch Tuvok run around the ship in sweatpants with the Maquis crew in Learning Curve. That was great, right?
Memories.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this show, has more conflict in this 2 hours than like Voyager did with the Maquis and Starfleet through its entire run, really.
True.
And I'm excited to see how these characters who are a little more TOS, and I'm a TOS guy, maybe a little more driven by impulse than we would see in the Berman era, next
thrusters.
Yes. Bingo. But, than we would in the Berman era, where, the Starfleet characters were a little more stoic and, a little more self-serious.
Okay. Cam, going forward, next week we're going to have episode 3. Context is for Kings. Yeah. What are you hoping to see? Are we actually going to see the USS Discovery by episode 3? Can we hope? I mean, it is the namesake of the entire TV series, right?
Look, Discovery, you better not pull a Marvel Netflix thing and introduce Discovery in the final episode of the season.
I mean, like Daredevil, where he finally gets his costume?
Not just, it's all of them.
Yeah.
They get their costume in the final episode. Like the Punisher got his in the final episode of Daredevil season 2.
Cam, you need to get into Jessica Jones. You've not watched Jessica Jones yet.
Not.
So
yes, let's not put that off too long. I want to see Jason Isaacs as Captain Lorca. Hopefully that's the next episode. But I said on the podcast, I think that this 2 episodes is a little rushed, just trying to set this world up very quickly. I don't want to see Lorca rushed into the show. I don't mind breathing room if that's what they need for the story.
Okay.
I'm willing to wait if it serves the story.
Well, guys, keep tuning into the podcast and go to facebook.com/subspacepod for more information. Until next time, this is us beaming out.
Boom.